All right, welcome everybody. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. Today we are talking about branding and promo items. All right. Look, we're all in business. We all understand that for our business to grow, people have to know who we are. All right. So there's a few things that we all get wrong when we're setting up our business. And some people end up rebranding and redoing parts of their marketing and advertising as a result. Well, because quite frankly, it's not always the most fun thing to do. So one of the things that we all really focus on, or we should be focused on when we're doing this, is going over our logo. Like, what's our logo look like? We've all seen mine. It's right here. It's simple and easy. Oh, there it is, right there, the B with the letter. And to help us go over and understand some of this stuff better, we have Susan Donohue of swagsmiles.com, and she is here to give us all her infinite wisdom on logo design and chat with us a little bit about promo items and what are must-haves in the home care space. Welcome, Susan. How are you?
Thanks, Julio. Thanks for having me. I'm great. Merry
Fantastic.
Christmas.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your company. What do you do? How do you do it? And what makes it valuable for people to understand about their their branding?
So a little background on me. I've had many career hats in the past, and I've ended up in branding via being a very successful real estate agent. I did my own branding and my own marketing at the time. So that's really when I learned it. But my background educationally is in social work, and I've been a medical social worker, case manager, home care social worker for years. So I know the medical industry inside and out. I was also a discharge planner, so I know exactly what the discharge planners are looking for home care companies. Awesome. So let's just talk about my background. And I've ended up with promo because I truly believe in products. And one of the things that I like to tell people about promo is that it is the one piece of advertising your client is going to thank you for.
Mm-hmm.
So
that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Now, when we're talking about clients, before we went live on the air, we were talking a little bit about internal clients versus external clients. You want to give us a little bit of insight on that? Because I think that was a really good point you brought up.
Thank you. And I think about this sort of thing a lot. You do, as a staffing agency, which is what a home care company is, you are offering a service, not a product, but a service. And you have two lines of your clients. You have your internal clients, which are your staff, your caregivers, your nurses, your LPNs, your physical therapists, if you're medical, or your home health aides, if you're non-medical. And then you have your external clients, who are the people that are the professionals that refer to you, be they assisted living, be they the receptionist at your physician's office, be it the discharge planner in the hospital. Those are your external referral sources. And swag, as we like to call it in the promo business, it's logoed items with your logo on them. There are different swag items that you should think of for your internal clients and ones to consider for your external. Sometimes there's overlap, which Julie and I just talked about as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely very, very important. I mean, our internal clients, being the staff, people really don't understand that giving your staff stuff, not only does it help build up morale and retention and everything else, it also helps in the sense that when your staff is out and about, they become like a walking billboard for you. And so that's one of the things that a lot of people just fail to recognize sometimes, that giving that branded shirt, that branded jacket, that has all of your stuff proudly displayed. When your caregivers, when your office staff, they go to the supermarket, or they go to their own doctors, or they are visiting other facilities, because let's be realistic, you give a caregiver a nice jacket, they're going to wear it no matter what company they're working with. So it just really puts people out there, put your name out there for a lot of advertising opportunities. So like when we're talking about the external clients though, like I have my list of favorite promo items. One is one that I'm always showing around, my coffee mug. I think it's great.
Exactly.
Another one is pens. Pens I think are a must have. Tote bags. I think if you ever run out of tote bags, first, if you have a surplus of tote bags, you need to start giving your stuff out.
That's right.
All right. And if you run out of tote bags, you're making a huge mistake and a big disservice. My reason for tote bags is simple. It's something that everybody wants. And especially since our world is moving more into the no plastic bag, no paper bag stuff
Right.
in the supermarket, nobody's going to say no to a tote bag. And, that's just been my experience. I know I bring them home and my wife loves them.
I love them
So,
too. Everybody
yeah.
does. Yeah.
Yeah. And then probably my last, I would say, is going to be clipboards. Clipboards are great. Let
They're
me
a
see
great
if I
idea.
even have one out here. I don't have one in arm's reach right now, surprisingly. But clipboards are awesome, especially if you are looking at it from the perspective of marketing to a facility, because you give a social worker a clipboard,
Yeah.
now the client's looking right at your stuff. And if the nurse is standing over the client in that hospital bed and that branded clipboard's got your logo and phone number on the back of it, it creates unconscious awareness of your brand. And that's our goal with all of this stuff. What is your favorite, your must-haves, your, top sellers, or whatever it is, however it is you want to classify it? And having been a discharge planner, what was your favorite stuff to get?
Definitely the pens. We use pens all the time, and there's no, and the pens nowadays, the pens with the stylist on it have really become must-haves, because so
Okay.
much in the hospital and everything is computerized, and you want that stylus. So I really highly recommend a pen with a stylus on it, and not a cheap pen. When you low end, I even know Chase Bank, and I'll just throw Chase Bank under the bus. They gave me the cheapest pen when I did my account. It was like, really, I gave you all my money and you gave me a cheap pen. But
Yeah. Hey, it happens.
yeah,
Yeah.
of all places, right? So you
TD
do
Bank is
not
good
want
for
to do
that
that.
too.
And honestly, the dollar limit for a pen, it's about a $2. I really don't like to encourage anybody to buy a pen that's less than $2 ish a
Okay.
piece.
Okay.
So just, and I am budget conscious for my clients, and we can talk about that too. I will be
Yeah.
giving discounts for anybody that's listening to this and references this.
Awesome.
And there is an order that we want to get things to. I mean, pens may
Right.
not be the first thing. You certainly
Oh,
need
okay.
business cards, brochures, that sort of thing before you need pens, and I can help
Mhm.
you with that. Um,
Yeah. So I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here.
okay.
Pens with a stylus. The stylus on the tip or on the back end on the clicker?
That's a matter of personal preference. I like it on the tip, but
Oh, okay.
some people, what do you like? I
My
meant
preference is also on the tip. I just find it inconvenient to have to flip
to
the pen
turn it
upside
over. I
down.
agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Only because I'm forever in a hurry. So, having to flip the pen around is like a tenth of a second that might stop me from doing absolutely nothing in the next minute.
exactly. And
Oh,
we all know that favorite pen that we have that company gave us. We all have that favorite, and it's not a cheap pen. It's
right.
not.
Usually it's not. It's usually sturdy. It feels good in the hand. It writes well, and it's not going to run out of ink after the third time you use it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's, and I'm definitely going to help steer my client to order something. I had a physician who was developing an online program, an
Mhm.
online physician office, and they
Right.
wanted a 10-cent pen. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't sell those. So that I'll just
Right.
be really honest with you. I just don't.
Well, I mean, you can if they buy enough of them. Buy
Yeah.
20,000 pens, it might come out to like a dollar.
So,
Yeah.
she's not my client. So,
Yeah. Nice.
and that's okay too. But you talked about the brand and clothing. I'm so glad you talked about that, because that is so important for your internal client. But it also serves an other purpose, like you said, at the grocery store and the doctor's office.
Right.
And it also is identifying, you're going into people's homes.
Hmm.
And right now, people are feeling more vulnerable, I think, than maybe ever before about people coming into their home. So you
Yes.
want to make sure that that person is identified as being with your company.
Right. Right. No, that is extremely, extremely important. And, that's something, a lot of agencies, in my experience over the years, they'll provide shirts if the caregiver is working, for example, in a um, in a facility, but they won't provide it if they're working in the home. And I think that's a mistake.
Yeah,
Okay,
correct.
because one, like you said, it does identify your caregiver as belonging in the neighborhood. But the other big issue that people forget is older people are home during the day. So are many housewives. Okay, and stay-at-home dads, same concept. So also there are workers that are out, construction workers, handymen, and the landscapers, snow removal people, depending on where you are in the country. You want them to be able to recognize your service as being community, part of the community. And when they're being nosy and looking around, let's call it what it is. Hey, strange person walking into Mrs. Jones's house, whether it be out of concern or nosiness, um, you want them to notice that it's your caregiver going over there. So if it becomes a habit and they start to have their own family member that needs a service, it creates the opportunity for someone to come up to your caregiver and say, oh, do you have a card for your agency? Or who would I talk to about setting up services? And it creates that opportunity to, to create a commission-free sign up. Something you're not paying that marketer to do, something you did not have to pay, that lead generation service, that you didn't have to spend that expensive lunch in the facility to get people to work with you. So that's a big part of it. Even if it's something as simple as, a $8 or $10 t-shirt, that the marketing opportunity when people are in the neighborhoods, you can't beat that.
Right. And one of the things I've been talking about with hospice right now is they're trying to save some money and getting a vest, because the vest is something you can throw on over that short, and it's something you can wear under the jacket
Mhm.
in most weather. So, I mean, there's options we can talk about, with
Right.
clothing, there's more specific, but I think that the logo clothing is so important,
Yes.
which let's talk about the logo too, real quickly.
Right.
So when I do design logos, which that's another service that I provide very
Okay.
inexpensively, by the way,
Yes.
much more, much less expensively than most of my competitors.
Mhm.
I really concentrate with my client on providing that logo that you're going to be able to look at on a pen
Mhm.
and on a t-shirt
Right.
and on a
Right.
billboard. Should you ever decide you want to have billboards,
Yeah.
is that going to be recognizable? Is it
Mhm.
simple? And again, I cannot stress enough, simple, simple, simple.
Yes, I will agree there. You know, through the years and in my own experience, I have seen some really nice, simple logos that fit great into the marketing scheme. And I have seen some stuff that I'm sure you've seen as bad, if not worse, that it just looks like my 5-year-old designed it. It outrageous colors, poor design. They just a bunch of clip art they got off of Microsoft Word, and we're
It
like, oh,
doesn't make
this might look
sense.
nice
Yeah.
together. Yeah, and it's not to knock anybody's creativity. All right, this is this channel, the all of this, what we're doing, it's based on helping. Okay,
Right.
and the thing is that if you have an overly complicated logo, let's think about this. All right, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Susan. Most people have the attention span of a goldfish,
Exactly.
less than they're with social media the way it is. I believe the statistic is you have about 7/10 of a second to grab somebody's attention.
Mhm.
Now, anything more than 2 or 3 colors takes an average of 2 to 4 seconds for the brain to process it. So they actually have to look at it. So the busier and the crazier your logo is, the less likely I will pay attention to it long enough to look. I'm just going to see it on my feed and I'm going to scroll right past it. I'm going to be
100%.
walking past you. I'm not going to do that double take to see, oh, this is what they do.
Yep.
and simplicity is so important when it comes to the logo. Not simplicity of concept, simplicity of design. Think in conversations we've had before, you've said, think Nike.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it couldn't be more obvious than that.
Yeah.
Everyone there, I would challenge you to find someone that does not recognize the Nike logo.
Right.
And
Nike,
know what that
Reebok.
brand means.
Yeah.
That it means quality, it means athleticism, it means competition, it means all of those things. And it could not be more simple.
Correct. Yeah, and that's just fantastic. So, all right. So there's one thing I really want to highlight before we wrap it up for today. I really want to go over, because you have this great product that we were talking about, and it's one of the marketing schemes that I actually teach in my business development class, and that is a notebook that they can hand out to their caregivers, to the clients at like independent living facilities or assisted living facilities, where you can track track their blood pressure, track their vitals, track their temperature, so that they can use it as part of their overall bigger picture scheme in order to build that relationship with the facility, with the client's family, with the individual client themselves, and ultimately their doctor. All right. So let's talk a little bit about that, and talk a little bit about how they can get a hold of you and how they can work with you.
Do you want me to share the screen?
Yeah, please do. Please.
Yeah, let me do that if I can. So in the screen share, this is the Better Health Books, the health organizer. And you can see that I'm showing you what my actual prices are right here, which I normally don't do. But I can get these for you pretty inexpensively. Let's go back here. Depending upon the order that you would order. So I can get 300 of these for you for the catalog price of $1.27 each if you're going to order 300. Honestly, you'll go through 300 so fast. At least you should go through 300 pretty fast. I would recommend to anybody that they order at least 500 at $1.23. So that's extremely inexpensive. This is a 36-page book that you're going to leave in assisted living communities, you're going to leave in doctors' offices, you're going to leave with your own patients that they're going to have in their homes, that and you can read the description. But that is just one product of many that I can provide for my clients.
Right.
There you go. Let's talk about that. Oops. Keep sharing on my on my screen here.
Yeah, just hit the button that says stop share.
Stop share. There you go. Thank you. There we go.
All right. All right. So there you have it, folks. If you ever wonder if we're actually doing this live, yes, everything is live.
We are.
Recorded. Yeah. All right. So those items like that, they all become part of the strategy. And now, when it comes to promotional items, I always urge my clients to look at it not as an expense, it's an investment in advertising. It's no different than if you were going to dump $500 into Facebook advertising, or $1,500 into Google pay-per-click. It's not an expense. It's part of growing your business. Now, depending on everyone's situation, when we work with individuals, we'll go over budgets, but at the very least, because of the minimum orders, because that's something that's always comes up. Oh, I'd love to order. I like going to Vistaprint because they don't have a minimum order. Yeah, don't look at it. You're better off buying 500 of something and breaking it down over as a quarterly expense or an annual expense, depending on the product, rather than looking at it month to month, because you're not going to order enough to run out in 20 days. Like, that just doesn't make sense. You're going to pay out the nose for it. Like, one example is like the tote bag that we talked about in the beginning. For me, that's a must-have item. If you buy them individually from Vistaprint, they run $8 to $12 each.
Right.
Where if you buy 500 of them, the price comes down significantly. All right. So understanding your numbers and understanding how everything works, definitely will help you make smarter buying decisions for you and your clients. So now, to get a hold of Susan, thank you, first of all, for being on. And we really appreciate you taking the time to help educate our audience here on promo items and branding. And, and please, if you're watching this, get a hold of Susan. All of her information is going to be in the description here below, or somewhere on the post, wherever you're looking at it. She'll give you a great deal. Let me tell you, just from experience, she does really good logos and does them very inexpensively.
And quickly.
Logo design, yeah.
Yeah.
Logo design can cost you a couple of $1,000s in some instances, and she definitely comes in much lower than that. So, reach out to her. She'll hook you up. She's got special offers going on for anyone who mentions that they saw her on this video.
Exactly. Honestly, it's my passion. I want to see my clients to be successful.
Great. That's one thing we all hope to see, because more successful home care agencies out there, the better the seniors are serviced.
Exactly.
All right. So thanks for watching. We appreciate your time. All the information down below. And please don't forget that we have our Business Development 101 class starting in January of 2022. Take advantage now, because the next go around, the prices are actually going up. All right. Take care, everybody, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, Julio.
All right. Bye.